Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the next video in the series on the Surf Wagon. Today we're going to do the AC system. Now this car still has the original R12 system in it. And when I get cars that still have the original R12 and haven't been retrofitted with the R134 fittings, I like to keep them R12 because that just, that's cool. It adds to the originality of the car. And I have plenty of R12 refrigerant. If you guys buy a car from me and you need more refrigerant down the line, I can send you some cans. But let's go take a look underneath here. So here is the compressor, and I actually think that's been replaced at some point. I don't think that's the original compressor. Yeah, because I see these, the line, when it was reconnected, these lines were zip tied here. So we're going to go ahead and remove this compressor. And we're also going to remove the receiver dryer. Here we go. There's a couple of compressors there. There's the new switches, and there's a new receiver dryer. So let's go ahead, get this compressor out. Now to get the compressor out, guys, it's only, let's see, you detach the main lines here, the manifold. And then it's like 1, 2, 3. There's 3 bolts back here you can't see. I think they're 19 millimeter. And then you can drop this compressor out of here. Okay, guys, just to get a baseline of where we're at right now, I have not disassembled the original AC system, and I've just put a vacuum pump on there, and I've put a vacuum on the system. And you can see we're somewhere around, it looks like negative 28 to me, and the camera probably looks like negative 30 inches of vacuum. So I'm going to let that sit for several hours and see if there's any vacuum leaks in the old original AC system. That'll just help me to troubleshoot as we proceed with the new components. As far as new components, here's our compressor and the seals. Let's see, guys, you want to use the gold and the green seal. Throw away the red seals. Do not use the red seals. It's deceiving. You will think you're supposed to use the red one. Do not use it. Gold and green. All right, here's our pump, switches, a bunch of O-rings to replace the O-rings in the system. I need to get a couple more cans of the Freon. This is the good stuff, original DuPont R12. Ester oil. So you do not use PAG oil in an R12 system. They had mineral oil in them. However, ester oil is compatible with both systems. So I like to use ester oil. You can use that in R134 or R112. I like to use that stuff. Here's the oil injector. We can fill that up and inject in a certain like 4 to 6 ounces of oil. And here's my clutch holding tool. Basically, I put this on the compressor and allows us to rotate the clutch 10 times or so before installing it to make sure all that's good. All right, guys, first thing we want to do, let's get the compressor is pre-charged with 3 ounces of oil. Must add recommended amount and type. So first what we want to do is remove the oil from the compressor, because if you try to install a compressor with oil in it, it just dumps out on you. I'm going to undo this bolt right here, and these usually pop loose and go flying. Let's see, just loosen it a little bit. There we go. Let the air out of there so that doesn't go, they're under pressure. There we go. Now we can take that bolt out. So normally about 2 ounces come out, and we're going to measure that because we want to add back in the same amount that came out as part of our refilling the system with oil. Okay, we can probably get a little more out. Now, the instructions with compressors actually say, just to make sure the clutch is functioning correctly, I'm going to turn it around, but I'll show you how this works. This little tool goes onto the front of the compressor like that and allows us to turn the compressor. So we're going to turn it clockwise. And they want you to turn it about 10 times. Yeah, and this one turns fine. And then we're going to try to get out some more oil. Okay, that's all the oil that came out, and we have Yep. We have about 2 ounces that came out. This is just a graduated, there, see it says 4 ounces there. And it's about halfway up to there. So there's an ounce still in there. Now, in preparation for installing the compressor and charging the system, you want to add, the system takes about 6 ounces of oil. Now, we're going to have a little residual oil in the system because we're not removing the evaporator, the condenser on the front of the car. That's going to have some oil in it. The lines going back into the car are going to have a little oil in it. So I like to add in 4 ounces of oil, and that accounts to the ounce and a half of residual oil that'll still be in the system. Because there's also going to be oil in the dryer, so but we're replacing the dryer. So we'll add back in 4 ounces when we recharge it. And this has, I don't know if you can see that, it says ounces, this is a graduated measurements down through here. So I'm just going to screw it down. It goes down to 2 ounces, and then we'll put, we'll do this twice. And this oil already has UV dye in it, so we can actually see the dye if we have any leaks in the system. Once we have it back together with a black light, we can see the dye. All right, so I'll go ahead and fill that back up, and we'll put our cap back on. Okay, I went in and had some lunch and hung out and played on the internet, but we are back, and we can see this original system has no leaks in it. We are still exactly where we left off. So that's good. I just wanted to get a baseline. We're going to change the O-rings and seals on here anyway, but that tells me that the manifold is good. There's no leaks in the manifold. So let's proceed and get this compressor off of here. All right, guys, and part of the trick to getting the compressor out, I like to get a ratchet with a swiveling head. That way you can get back on these bolts a little easier. There we go. And guys, you notice all the yellow zinc coating still on here. That is a sign that this vehicle was never driven in salty road conditions. Otherwise, this stuff would have, come off. There we go. Now I want to go ahead and take the manifold off, and there's this 13 millimeter that holds it to the compressor, and then I think a 15 millimeter on the back. Let's see, that's either a 15 or a 14 on the back. Yeah, it's a 15. There we go. Now this is your manifold. This is where the seals, the 2 seals go. The green and the gold seal. They seal the manifold to the back of the compressor. Now we need to put a 13 millimeter there and get this this bolt out that holds the bracket there. There we go. There we go. So this side has a pretty thick washer, and that just slides out, and you got a thick washer on the other side too. We'll just put these back together. So we have that to reinstall. And now your manifold is actually loose. See, that can now come off of there. All right, there we go. Pull that bolt out. Now notice, here's a long bolt. We have a very long spacer, and we have a washer. Now on the other side, between the compressor and the mounting bracket, there we go, you have this really thick spacer. So when it goes back together, this goes through, and then this goes on this side, like that. Keep those together. Okay, you barely see the spacer right up here. That spacer between the mounting bracket and the adjustment mechanism. So let's see if we can get this thing out of here. There we go. All right, that compressor is now loose, and the belt will just slip right off the front. And there we go. There's our old compressor. So you got the gold and the green. And we're going to go ahead, so while we're at it, pop this one right on up there. Okay, guys, this is kind of the hard part. I don't know how well I'm going to record here. Here's our green seal We have just enough room to slip it over the end there. And here's our gold seal. I'm going to try to get this one right up here. Slip it in there. All right, I'm going to snug them up, and then we want to add tension with our tensioner up top, and then I'll tighten all those up. Okay, if you go up here on the top of the engine, right, here's the power steering pump. Look right down here, and that is a 10 millimeter nut. Now it's loose now. See, there's our spacer that we installed, the top spacer. That's the adjustment mechanism. So we want to screw down that 10 millimeter nut to snug up the adjustment on the belt and then tighten down the back of the pump. Okay guys, we have our belt tight. Now these AC compressor belts, they have to be pretty tight because it takes a lot to turn this clutch. And the trick is you adjust it just slightly looser than you want it to be. And then when you torque down your retaining bolts on your AC compressor, it'll tighten it up just a little bit more. How tight that is. You want those things really snug. Otherwise, they'll start squeaking or the compressor will start rattling. All right, guys, there's our nice new compressor. I just need to plug in the power cable. Looks very nice. Look at the nice zinc plating on the lines that's still in there. Looks great. I've soldered in a nice good clip and then soldered it and professionally shrink wrapped it. That'll be good forever. That's never going to come apart. But now we have a nice, really solid connection. And let me go ahead. There we go. Let's just connect this. There we go. Now we have that really nice, solid line, solid connector, heat shrink wrapped, and that's a new plug, and that will never cause us a problem. Okay, here we are over on the passenger side, and behind the headlight, there's two things we can see. There's the receiver dryer. We want to change that. We have our new one right there. And also we have that's probably a dealer installed alarm system. See, that's the horn right there for the alarm. I always remove those guys because those alarm systems from, 1985 they never work correctly. So I'm going to remove that wiring and get that old alarm horn out of here. But to access this area, we want to disconnect here and disconnect here. And then we will disconnect up here. You can't see on the condenser. And to do that, it's always easier to just remove the headlight, then we can work through the front of the car. Okay, there we go. Now that we have that removed, we have easy access to the receiver dryer. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to unplug my power plugs here. To our pressure switch. All right, then I think this is one's a temperature or a high pressure and low pressure. All right, we got those unplugged. Now I'm going to get a little 8 millimeter and undo this one little screw that holds in the receiver dryer. First, before I undo that, I want to crack my lines loose. Okay guys, these are 19 millimeter, and before we take the one little screw out that holds the receiver dryer in here, we're going to crack these loose. So this one's going to go this way. There we go. That one's loose, and we'll crack this one loose. There we go. That one's loose. This goes to our expansion valve, this one right here, and this one down here goes to the condenser in the front of the car. Okay, I've got these two lines off. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see there's a little O-ring seal right here and right there. They're green, and the factory used black ones. So someone has redone the AC at least once before. So we're going to pop off these green ones and replace them with new seals. We can go ahead and get this receiver dryer out, and that is a little 8 millimeter screw. Right there. There we go. And then this thing will lift straight out of here. Oops, I'm sorry guys, there's another one on this side. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, here we go. On the bench, we have our old receiver dryer. See, that's the switch we're going to install there. And here's the switch we install here. So here's our new one. And we just need to pop off our caps. And we can see this cap comes off and we put this one right here. Now you can see we have a new seal on here. And I just like to take some of the compressor oil, lubricate that seal a little bit. There we go. Before we screw that back in here. Then we'll tighten that down in a minute. Now, I think these are actually, we get these switches for the, I think these are from the 124 chassis, but they make it kick on, the fan kick on a little sooner in the front of the car. The pressure is a little lower, so it kicks on the fan sooner and adds a little bit better cooling on the condenser. Also, guys, these little green caps, these are what I save to use when I'm capping brake lines, when I'm changing the brakes. So we'll just lubricate that one a little bit. There we go. We'll screw this one in here. There we go. Now let's just tighten these down. And before we put it back in the car, we're going to get our old O-rings out. I'll tighten those in a minute. Let me show you the old O-rings. Okay, here are the two old O-rings we pulled off the lines in the car. So now I just want to find two new ones of matching size. All right, I think we found one right there immediately. Let's see. Yep, there's one. And let's see, there is another. So we'll toss these, throw these away, and let's go put our new O-rings on the lines in the car. Here's where one of them goes right here. We'll just slide that one on. There we go. And here's our other one. We'll put it right on there. And now these can be reconnected to the receiver dryer. Beautiful new receiver dryer with new switches. We're just going to drop this right back down the hole here. Oh, sorry. First we want to take off our caps where the lines connect. We'll put our connections back on here. And our connections back on here. Now, this one is going to be a little different. It was running through that zip tie, but our leads are a little bit shorter on the new pressure switch we put on there. And then that just plugs right into there. There we go. What we want to do now is I'm going to lower the car back down, and we're going to put the system under a vacuum and leave it overnight. You know, I want to go like maybe 12, 18 hours or so. Check it tomorrow afternoon and make sure there's no vacuum leaks. If we have no vacuum leaks, we know that the system is sealed well. The compressor is sealing, the new receiver dryer is sealing, and we want to start recharging the system with R12. Okay guys, we're putting the system under vacuum. There's the vacuum pump. We'll let this run for 45 minutes or so to evaporate any moisture that got into the system while we were changing components. Get that out of there, because water will boil or evaporate under a vacuum at a much lower temperature. A vacuum will make moisture come out of the system. Anyway, so we're about done. There we go. It's down to like 28. It looks like 30 on the gauge. It's like negative 28. So when that's done, we'll close our valves, shut that off, and we're going to let this sit overnight until tomorrow afternoon. All right, guys, it's the next day. We have not had a single, even the slightest bit of movement on this gauge. So that's awesome. We have no leaks in the system. Let's go ahead and recharge this AC. All right, guys, off camera, I went ahead and put in 2 ounces of oil. And now we have our R12 Freon. And also I have a pot of hot water. An old mechanic, old Mercedes mechanic that I learned a lot of stuff from, showed me this trick. Put a pot of hot water up here, and you can put the R12 in the hot water, and it will help it to evaporate and go into the system easier. So, and it's just normal tap water, so we're going to do that here in a minute. We're going to open up our valve, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but the Freon is now going in there. And we'll hear the compressor click on once we get enough Freon in there to activate it. We have a little sight glass. Okay, I just heard the compressor kick on. So that's good. And we need to do 3 cans of this because there's a label. Sorry, you guys can't see it. But the label right here says it's 2.9 pounds of R12 goes into this system. The label is right on the core support. I'll show that to you guys in a minute. Alright, let's get this one connected. And now after this can, we're going to add in the rest of our oil right before we do the last can. There we go. And there we go. Our Freon is going in. Now guys, we also have our sight glass right there. You see the Freon bubbling? See it bubbling right there in our sight glass? Now with R12, when it's done charging, you will see the bubbles stop. And right here is where it says on the 123 chassis, 2.9 pounds of R12. Next, I'm going to add in the rest of our oil. And it's going to go into this line, and then we'll go ahead and flush the rest of that through with another can of R12. There we go. Alright, we now have air out of the system, or out of this line. I'm getting air out of that line. Now we're going to open the system. We're going to open the valve and pump in our oil. And then we'll do one more can of R12 and we should be done. And then we'll take a temperature reading at the vent inside the car. I bet you we're already really cold right now. It's about 70 degrees, somewhere between 65 and 70 degrees here in Georgia today. So I'm guessing we're going to have like a 39, 40 degree reading on the vents in the car. And there we go, guys. Not sure if you guys can see that. We're at 39 degrees. That is a properly working R12 AC system. Mission accomplished. All right, guys, I've disconnected my lines and put the caps back on the R12 fittings. Next, we want to turn out all the lights in the shop. We had the car running for about 30 minutes. We want to go under there with this black light. There we go. You can see it's a black light. And we want to look for any of the UV dye to see if there's any leaks from the oil coming out anywhere in the system. Okay, guys, the lights are out. Let me go ahead and turn out the light on the camera. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but okay, there we go. I'm inspecting anywhere. All right, we have no leaks on the compressor. I'm going to check the front. That's for the front seal. See, there's no leaks. Otherwise, it shows up bright green. And then here's our seals. Now, you can see the green of our seal right there. That's the seal. But if there was dye coming out, you would see bright green oil all over the back of here. And we do not see any. All right, so next, I'm going to go check our fitting up here. All right, see, there's no oil coming out around our fitting. There's our hose here. Okay, we see no leaks anywhere on the manifold hose. Now I'm going to look under the dryer. So here's the bottom of our dryer. Nothing leaking from around there. Now let's go up top and look at the top of the dryer. All right, let's go up here and look at the top of the engine. It's cool, this light, one side of it is a flashlight and the other side is a UV light. Okay, let me switch over to the UV light. All right, first thing we're doing right here, see, we're checking our fitting. There is no dye. So you can see some residue right there. That's where That's where I was unplugging it, and I wiped some on there with my fingers when I was unplugging our lines. But, yep, no leaks there. Okay, now we look down here. Let's check remember we put our O-rings back in here. Yep, no leaks there. Good. All right, guys, mission accomplished. That was one of the smoothest AC recharges that I've done. There wasn't one single issue. It went textbook. We got the new O-rings on the dryer, new seals on the back of the new compressor, new dryer, recharged it with R12, hit 39 degrees, mission accomplished. So the next video in this series is going to be the zinc plating of the engine compartment. You can see right now we have all the original zinc on the engine, and you know, it's barely hanging in there, but we really want to remove all that. And all these parts have just come back from plating, and those are beautiful. Hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you in the next one. Take care.